Sean Payton back to the Saints. The rumor mill has been churning and burning. This is First Things First with Nick Wright. Okay, before we get into the video, let's go back to November 5th when I said this exact thing could happen. I think that Loomis is making or leaving the door open for Sean Payton to come back. I think that's a real conversation right now. Wow, what a genius. Now let's go back to November 25th when I said that Sean Payton and Tom Brady to the Saints could happen. I'm a little bit biased here, but I think the Saints make a lot of sense for Tom Brady. If Sean Payton and Tom Brady said, you know where we can go and immediately compete for a championship? The Saints. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes I even surprise myself. I basically broke this story 2 months ago, beating the national media, Pro Football Talk, Mike Florio, Adam Schefter, Nick Wright, Colin Cowherd, the entirety of the New Orleans local media. How did I do it? This video, I'm going to be talking a lot about my own genius, but I'll also be reacting to this. Now, before we get into the video, let me tell y'all why I thought Sean Payton to the Saints was a possibility and why Sean Payton plus Tom Brady to the Saints was a possibility. I'll be brief. First of all, Sean Payton is under contract with the New Orleans Saints. No matter what team you think he could go to, Broncos, Colts, Panthers, Cardinals, Chargers, Rams, you've heard them all. No matter what team he goes to, the first call would have to be with the Saints. He has to be dealt from the Saints. Okay? So, if we know, A, that Sean Payton wants to coach in the NFL again and plans to coach next year, if we know A to be true, then the path with the least resistance to him coaching again would just be coming back to the Saints. They don't have to deal anybody. They don't have to trade a first-round draft pick. They don't have to restructure some insane contract that would mess up, like another team. The Saints are much more likely to offer Sean Payton an insane monetary contract because he's already been there. He's a legend in New Orleans. He's the greatest coach in Saints history. He brought a Super Bowl. I don't have to tell you all the things he did. The city loves him. It'd be much more difficult for the Dallas Cowboys to offer him an insane monetary contract. He doesn't mean the same to them. He's just a good coach, right? It would be a lot harder for the Panthers to offer him an insane contract and trade a first-round pick for him. So for him to quickest way back to the sidelines and the most monetary gain, both in New Orleans. Now, how did I connect that with Tom Brady? Well, if Sean Payton wants to come back to a team, he's not going to want to go to a team like Carolina where he has literally nothing and he has to trade a first-round pick. He's not going to want to do that. So he's going to have to get to a roster that's pretty much set besides a quarterback. Okay, that also lends itself to the Saints. Saints are a legit, I think, roster-wise, if you give them a good quarterback, they're probably a top 4 or top 5 roster in the NFC. I would say they're better than the Vikings. They're somewhere right there with like Dallas and Minnesota. Different video for a different day. Tom Brady and Sean Payton have already done this. They told you 2 years ago when they were sitting on a yacht talking about going to the Dolphins. So we know that Sean Payton and Tom Brady have already once talked about linking up with a new team. And that situation was Miami. We know that Brady is on his way out of Tampa. We know the Saints have a hole at quarterback. So, all of that equals what makes the most sense. Sean Payton returning to New Orleans and bringing him Tom Brady and going after the Lombardi in the first year or the second year, or both. Now, let's go ahead and see what everyone at First Things First has to say. This was filmed today, which is December 28th. And I am recording this today, December 28th.
Cowboys, if they lose a playoff game, strong maybe. Back to New Orleans with Brady. That's the idea floated by Mike Florio. Nick?
Yeah.
You were up crunching
What is
the
this
numbers.
video I'm watching?
Well, yeah, I just think it's a terrible idea.
What is this? What am I watching here? Hold on. Let me try and figure out why I'm watching the double screen, triple screen. This is just how they upload their videos. I have no idea why. So let's go ahead and watch. We'll be watching this screen. Ignore this screen.
I think that I understand for Sean Payton why they're connecting to New Orleans, because New Orleans it would have to agree to let him coach elsewhere. So I get that. I think they could work something out. I think Sean Payton did enough for that team, won a Super Bowl, was there for a long time. And I think a team would want him badly enough, I think maybe they'd give New Orleans a first-round pick for Sean.
I think they would. And for the record, I don't think New Orleans is like, I don't think they're drawing a line in the sand saying, Sean, we're not dealing you. I think New Orleans would be very receptive to dealing Sean Payton for a first-round draft pick or multiple draft picks or whatever. So I don't think that there is any kind of like animosity with the front office and Sean with possibly going somewhere else.
Sean Payton, not like a top 5 pick, but a first-round pick worth it for Sean Payton. But if I'm Tom Brady, what is exciting about New Orleans?
I'm glad you asked. Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, almost the offensive rookie of the year, playing inside, playing in a dome, not having to worry about weather, cold weather, or anything like that. A good defense, or at least an average defense. What else would you want? I mean, what else would you want? Like, if he's going to go somewhere, let's just say he leaves Tampa, and the teams that have been thrown around, like, let's say the Raiders, okay? Who would you rather have? Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, and Hunter Renfrow, or Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara? I would say it's pretty similar. I could certainly hear an argument for the Raiders with that, but I think it's pretty similar. I think people who aren't following the Saints at a high level, who are just kind of like fringe looking at them, they're looking at the Saints and they're saying, this team is trash. This team has 4 wins. This team is hot garbo. Like, why would Tom Brady want to go to that team? But I don't think that they're factoring in just how good the roster is and how bad the coaching and all of that, how much that's come into play here.
I like Chris Olave a lot. Mm-hmm. I think he's a star. Aside from that, it's a whole bunch of yikes.
I mean, I think to not think Alvin Kamara is Alvin Kamara is much better than Leonard Fournette. I mean, Alvin Kamara is a much better player. Even let's just look at Tampa. Like, you look at Tampa, you have Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Leonard Fournette. I would think I don't know if that's better than Thomas, Olave, and Kamara. And I know you're going to say, James, Michael Thomas is always hurt. Chris Godwin tore his ACL last year, okay? Chris Godwin's been hurt this year, all right? People get hurt. People get hurt all the time. All kind of players deal with injuries. Mike Evans hurts his hamstring once a year, all right? And we're not even factoring in, on the defensive side of the ball, Marshawn Lattimore, DeMario Davis, people like that. Because Marshawn's been hurt, right? So Nick Wright isn't even mentioning the key players here. You could argue that the Saints have a top 5 running back in Kamara, a top 5 receiver when healthy, Michael Thomas, a top 5 cornerback in Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, the roster is not bad for a landing spot for Tom Brady.
So Alvin Kamara does not right now look like the same player that he was over the previous few years. Michael Thomas has seemingly as many catches the last 2 years as Greg. And Greg's been...
Yeah, he's hurt. He hasn't been playing. But you'd have to assume that he's going to get healthy. You know, I mean, you have to say, if you're Tom Brady, you have to say, like, okay, is Michael Thomas going to be healthy? You can't say, well, he's injury prone, so I'm just going to write him off. You got to be looking at upside if you're Tom Brady and you're trying to move around.
Working with us for these 2 years. They are in the worst cap situation that any team has been in.
That's fake. That's fugazi. That's fake. Cap is fake. Everyone knows that. The NFL, really in all sports, cap is fake. You can make things happen if you want them to happen. This is like Monopoly. It's like Monopoly money. You can always find a couple extra 500s under the board.
In NFL history, okay, they are $58 million over next year's cap already. And by the way, they don't have a first-round pick next year or a second-round pick the year after because they were so convinced they could still win right now.
Just a question, because I know you are really good on this, the cap stuff.
Yeah.
If there was only 1 year with Brady left, could they put anything else on the credit card?
Yeah, listen, you can.
Yeah, they can always charge to the credit card. Another team, Denver, the Broncos. Is Denver offensive? Is their weapons offensively if you're Tom Brady, are their weapons offensively better than New Orleans? Dallas, would you rather have, I'm just asking you, feel free to tell me in the comments, would you rather have Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup? Would you rather have that with a little bit of Ezekiel Elliott sprinkled on? Would you rather have that, or would you rather have Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, and Alvin Kamara? I mean, maybe I'm biased. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm biased. But I think the Saints roster is pretty competitive when you measure it up to other rosters in these landing spots.
Can continually put things on the credit card, but eventually the bill comes due.
Does it?
And they have been operating as if the bill was going to be due when Drew Brees retired. But then they pretended they could keep competing. And then this year I thought, okay, they're going to take their medicine this year because Brees and Payton are done. And then they did it again.
We ain't paying.
They could, but you are still bereft the resources other.
Yeah, they could is all you needed to hear from that. Yeah, they could, because guess what? Yeah, they will. All right? When you got Bobby Bonilla getting paid $1 million every year for 40 years, when you've got I'm talking baseball here. When you've got Chris Davis getting paid $15 million for the next 10 years or whatever it is, I mean, you've got like the deals that get made and then they get figured out later. No team has ever been held up because of some insane contract they made. The tax man never comes knocking.
Other teams are going to have. And Greg, the team's 6-9.
Yeah.
There's only 7 teams in the league with a worse record than them, and they've had the benefit of playing in the NFC South. If you're Tom Brady,
so is Brady. How crazy is that? Like, Tom Brady is one of those other teams. He ain't much better, pal. It's not like Tom Brady's going from a 15-win team to some other team. What are we talking about? Who are the other landing spots? Who are the other landing spots that we've heard from? Okay? We've heard about the Broncos. What's their record? We've heard the Raiders. What's their record? We've heard the Rams. What's their record? We've heard the Panthers. What's their record? What team have we heard of with Tom Brady that has a good record? Frisco? I think San Francisco is the only team that I've heard with Brady about having a good record. And yeah, that obviously would be an insane situation. Okay? Obviously, everyone would want to go to San Francisco, especially if you're from there. But out of the teams that we've heard, the Colts, what's their record? Would you rather have what the Colts roster looks like or the Saints? Michael Thomas is always injured. Isn't Jonathan Taylor injured right now? What are we talking about?
I can think of a dozen teams that would be more attractive to me if I were Tom Brady.
Then name them. Name them, then, fool.
Than the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing on one. Like, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a better situation, in my opinion, than the New Orleans
I agree.
Saints.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah. You think the situation right now is better with Byron Leftwich, who Tom Brady hates, with Todd Bowles, who's a terrible head coach. You think that situation is better than a Sean Payton-led Saints team? That makes absolutely no sense. Because if it was that much better, then it wouldn't have taken a 2-minute collapse from the Saints for the Buccaneers to beat the Saints on Monday night. If the situation was that much better, then the Saints wouldn't be in the situation they are now, where they should be in first place in the South against Tom Brady. Okay, to say that the Bucs are better when you have an aging Leonard Fournette who is already going downhill. I can't even imagine next year or the year after that. You got Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, who are good, admittedly, but they're the same. They're always hurt. Mike Evans isn't, and Chris Godwin are not top 10 wide receivers, even when healthy. Michael Thomas at least has shown you that when healthy, he's a top 10 receiver, if not the number 1 receiver in the NFL. Is Chris Godwin that much better than Chris Olave? Is Mike Evans that much better than Chris Olave? Those two rosters, I think, are pretty similar, the Bucs and the Saints. So let's just agree to disagree that the two rosters wash each other out. They're the exact same rosters. Who do you think Tom Brady would rather be coached by, Sean Payton or Todd Bowles? Do you think Tom Brady would rather play outside in rainy-ass Raymond James Stadium or whatever it's called in Tampa? Or do you think he'd rather play in a controlled environment on the track in the dome? What do y'all think? Because I know what I think, and it's New Orleans.
Given if you switch out the head coach. But this just
Well, given that you switch out the head coach, my man, that's what the whole video is about. The whole video is about Sean Payton going to New Orleans with Tom Brady. Sean Payton ain't going to Tampa. So if Sean Payton's in New Orleans or Sean Payton's somewhere else, Tampa is not an option anymore. All right? The whole point of this video, my guy, is where would Tom Brady want to go with Sean Payton to New Orleans? And you just answered my question. Because Tampa, the only thing they're doing is firing Todd Bowles, but they're not getting anybody unless Bruce Arians agrees to coach again. So scratch Tampa off the list.
Nothing about this makes sense to me. Like seeing Tom Brady go to New Orleans where, like in New England, his complaint was, I don't have personnel around me. I don't have the skill guys.
I'm not going to keep explaining this every single time they say this, so I'll say it one more time. New Orleans does have the skill guys. I think we all agree with that, right? Type down in the comments below. Type these names. Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Chris Olave. Put a dash next to each of their names. Tell me how you would rate them. Tell me what you think. Are they a top 10 player at their position in the NFL? Is Alvin Kamara a top 10 running back? Is Chris Olave a top 10 wide receiver? Is Michael Thomas top 10? You tell me what you think, and I'll go check. Because I know what I think. I think I've made it very clear. But I may be wrong on this. Where do you have them? And obviously they have to be healthy.
You go to New Orleans, you just listed out one guy.
Yeah, Chris Olave.
Chris Olave, who's young and who's up and coming and who's a star. Like, Alvin Kamara's been in and out of the lineup. We don't know what he's going to provide. Like, Tom Brady brings a lot to a team, but covering up all that, he does not bring that anymore. That's not who he is.
But if I'm Tom Brady, I still operate by the, like, climb the easiest side of mountain. Like,
Yes,
the easiest side
absolutely.
of Everest. Like,
Absolutely.
if you got to climb Everest, like, let's take the easy route. Well, I look around, I'm like, well, the Falcons I don't think have ever been.
Oh, that's another thing. Thank you, man with the nice hair. I'm not even sure their names are. That's another thing. If you are Tom Brady, why would you want to go to a team like, let's just throw out there, Denver? Why would you, or let's just throw the Raiders. Why would you want to go to the Raiders where you've got to play Patrick Mahomes twice, right? Why would you want to do that? Where you got to play Justin Herbert twice? Where you're in the same division as Russell Wilson no matter how bad he's been this year? Wouldn't you much rather go to the NFC South or stay in the South where you know your competition is some combination of Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder, Sam Darnold, Jeff Driscoll, or not Jeff Driscoll, not Blaine Gabbert. Who's Kyle Trask? Kyle Trask. I just had to pull that one out of the old dome. Kyle Trask is backing up Tom Brady. So wouldn't you want to stay there? Like, why would you want to go to the Rams where you have absolutely nothing? Oh, and by the way, for your information, you're playing Frisco twice a year. Wouldn't you want to take the path with the, like he said, the least resistance, stay in the South with arguably, or maybe not even arguably, the worst division in the NFL? Wouldn't you want to stay there, rack up division titles, rack up home playoff games? It makes total sense. I do understand that these guys can't cover every single team in detail if they even watch the games. And I understand that me being in New Orleans makes me a little bit more tuned in to the Saints. But I think it's crazy how they're talking about some of the roster that New Orleans has. I mean, they're acting like the Saints roster is the Houston Texans.
Beating me. I own them. I know I can beat the Bucks, and I can roll the Panthers. So
Right, but is the question, but is Brady's goal, Wilds, just to win a division, or is his goal to play in another Super Bowl?
Yeah, dingus, his goal is to play in the Super Bowl. But the easiest way to get to the Super Bowl is winning your division, hosting playoff games. What are you talking about? This year should prove that more than anything. If the Bucks record were in any other division, they ain't even making the playoffs. But Tom Brady has a chance to host a playoff game. How crazy is that? If that sorry-ass record was anywhere else, he wouldn't even be in the playoffs. So yeah, if his goal is the Super Bowl, which of course it is, again, dingus, if his goal is to win a Super Bowl, the Buccaneers right now are proving to you why the NFC South is the easiest road to do that.
Let's getting
because
to the playoffs
I
and a
understand
little
getting
magic.
into the playoffs is the easiest path, but also keep in mind it used to be 2 byes, now it's 1 bye, so there was more advantage to having 6 wins within the division. But Greg, teams that might need a quarterback next year that would be better fits for Tom.
Oh, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is where I'm about to pop some holes in this. He's about to list teams that are better suited than the Saints. We finna slap them up.
Brady, San Francisco.
Yep.
Okay, I'll give him that one. I said San Francisco, obviously they're the best team in the NFL. Yes, I will concede that if given the opportunity to join the best team in the NFL, that would be awesome. No doubt about it. I mean, got me there.
The Jets.
The Jets? The Jets? Why would he want to do that? Who are the skill position players on the Jets that are driving him up there? Who do the Jets have that Tom Brady is hopping on a plane to go and join? And that's with Salah. That's not with Sean Payton, because he's obviously not going to the Jets. And you're playing outside in the freezing ass rain. I mean, let me just pull up the Jets. Okay, so we're here with the Jets. You're putting a whole lot of faith in Breece Hall and Michael Carter. I mean, look, if 80 carries of Breece Hall, if 80 carries of him said, and his 66 yards a game, if that said, my God, I've got to get on a plane, I've got to join the Jets. Or maybe it's Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, Tyler Conklin, Elijah Moore. Maybe it's these guys. Maybe it's this combination of guys that's just got Tom Brady just Delta first class in it to get up there. Are you really sitting here and then you're going to tell me, James, Breece Hall is a rookie. Garrett Wilson's a rookie. Look, they're young. Yeah, Chris Olave is. Let's just say he washes out Garrett Wilson. I'm conceding. Like I'll concede that, and I'll say that Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave balance each other out. You're looking at Corey Davis or Michael Thomas, and you've got a Michael Carter, Breece Hall combo or Alvin Kamara. And that's not even factoring in. And guys, like I know I keep hammering this roster, but that's not even factoring in that you've got the head coach situation of Robert Salah or Sean Payton. That's not even factoring in the weather of the controlled environment of the dome. That's not even factoring in if you go to the Jets, you have to play Buffalo twice, and you got to play Miami twice. Like this being, I mean, I'm actually kind of stunned. I'm actually kind of stunned that they're sitting here telling me that the Jets, with that situation I just laid out for you, personnel, stadium, weather, division, the whole thing, Salah, the whole thing, looking at that and looking at the Saints for Sean Payton, choosing this is bananas.
The Dolphins.
The Dolphins? The Dolphins? What are we talking about the Dolphins for? The Dolphins would be nuts. If the Dolphins, yeah. If the Dolphins moved off of Tua, if he retires or something because of his concussions, and Brady went in there, that would be absolutely bananas in pajamas, crazy town if that happened. And yes, I will concede again that joining the Dolphins would be heckin' sweet. But you'd have to move heaven and earth for that to happen. So yeah, I'll give you the Dolphins and I'll give you Frisco. The Jets, I will not give you.
The Raiders.
How the hell, I just explained this, how the hell is the Raiders better than the Saints? Is McDaniels going to be there? I mean, is McDaniel? Let's look at the Raiders. All right, the Raiders personnel, just like I said 20 minutes ago, personnel washes out with the Saints. I'll do you one better. What if I give you the personnel? What if I give you the roster and I say, okay, the Raiders roster is better than the Saints? All right. Does it balance out Josh McDaniel? Does it balance out a coach that might be getting fired? If you're Tom Brady, you don't even know who the coach is going to be. Because remember, my whole argument is that if Sean Payton goes to New Orleans would be obviously the best fit for Tom Brady. So you can't say Sean Payton will be there. So who the hell is going to be the coach? Josh McDaniel? Because he may just be getting fired. as of today, they benched Derek Carr for Jarrett Stidham. All right. Oh, and Fly, as I mentioned, you're playing Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and the Broncos all twice a year. Oh, and by the way, again, your path to the Super Bowl is in the AFC. So it goes through Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, along with Patrick Mahomes, who you're playing twice a year. So yeah, I don't think this is a great call either, Nicholas.
The Giants.
The Giants? All right. So we'll just glance over that again. You're playing in, okay, if you want to play in New York and be that guy, whatever. You're playing in the same division as the Eagles, probably the best team in the NFL right now. Saquon Barkley, okay, when healthy, good, but him and Michael Thomas are chilling in the same injury place. Are you going up there? And you tell me, go in the comments, please. If you're Tom Brady and you want skill position players, are you going up there to get involved with Darius Slayton, Richie James, Isaiah Hodgins, Wan'Dale Robinson? Is this what you're signing up for? Are you signing up for Saquon Barkley, who is constantly hurt, and this ragtag group of scallywags? I mean, like, this is the roster? Is it just me, guys? Is it just me? Or does anyone else watching this video think that perhaps Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, and Michael Thomas are better than Saquon Barkley, Darius Slayton, Richie James, and Isaiah Hodgins? I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, guys?
Washington.
The NFL. I'm not even going to get into the roster, but Washington is. You're playing in Washington, which is, I mean, LOL. You're dealing with the most hated owner in the NFL. Goodell and everyone else hates Snyder. I mean, you're playing for Washington. Are you kidding me here? It's just crazy when they're like, the Saints. The Saints are just so bad. Saints are 6-9. They're nowhere near as good as a team like the Washington Commanders, who are 7-7. They're nowhere near as good as the Raiders, who are also 6-9. What about the Jets, who are 7-8? They're acting like the Saints are winless. I mean, I just can't even fathom. I can't even fathom Washington, who has scored less points than the Saints. Like, you're talking about how bad the Saints offense is? The Washington has scored less. Okay? I mean, it's just, at this point, it's kind of comical when they're throwing Washington out there. It's almost like they just don't even understand what Brady's looking for.
Detroit.
This cat is sending Brady to the Lions to play with Dan Campbell. He's sending them to the Washington Commanders to play with Ron Rivera and hang out with Danny Snyder. And he's sending them to the Giants to throw passes to, I can't remember the guy's name, Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius something. I mean, this is crazy.
Seattle. Those teams are all better than the Saints right now. Again, I don't think Tom Brady's going to go any of those places, but that's my point. Would we think it's ridiculous for it to be like...
Unbelievable. He finishes that with, I don't think Tom Brady's going to any of those places. Is Washington... I'm not going to belabor the point.
You know where Tom Brady should go? Seattle. Seattle's way better than New Orleans. Seattle it has better weapons.
The Seahawks got smoked by New Orleans this year. I know that, one game sample size isn't that big of a deal, but it is kind of funny that he says, Seattle's way better when Seattle, to say Seattle is way better when Seattle is 7-8, the Saints are 6-9, and Seattle got that ass whipped down in New Orleans. I don't know. I just think it's kind of funny. Oh, and the Raiders got that ass whipped down in New Orleans too, and they had the same record as the Saints. Just wild.
A younger defense, and I'm not saying he's going to go there. My point is, New Orleans would be one of my last choices if I were Brady. They're in cap hell. They don't have their pick. They're the only weapon that I know is good is the rookie wide receiver. It doesn't make sense to me, Greg.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I just don't see it happen. You said Detroit, and I kind of paused at that. no, but that.
Detroit be good.
Detroit would.
He's not going to go live and play in Detroit.
No, he won't.
But it would. The offensive line's awesome.
Amazing.
The running game's
good.
Amon-Ra, St. Brown, an easy division potentially. Like
they got a ton of weapons.
Yeah,
He's
not going to Detroit. I understand.
New Orleans
but it would
not
be better
happening.
than New Orleans.
I don't see that happening.
I know, but I did a nice thing about going back to the Patriots, and you guys were like,
yeah, because
wild.
Saints
like,
be.
Hey.
I mean, it's just like, I mean, y'all. I mean, obviously, I'm just kind of saying the same thing over and again because they're saying the same thing's over. But like, they're saying that the Saints don't make any sense, and then they're throwing these teams out there who are like so much worse in all the areas that they're saying the Saints are lacking. I mean, they threw Miami out there, which is obviously a super good team. San Francisco, obviously a super good team. Detroit, which is obviously a good offense, a team on the rise right now. But then they turn around and say like, oh, well, shit. Well, yeah, true. Tom Brady's not going to want to go and live in Detroit. Or, oh, yeah, and true. Tom Brady's not going to want to go play outside in Washington. Oh, and true. Tom Brady's not going to want to go play in the AFC where he's got to go through Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. And then, but if they just connected all those reasons he wouldn't want to go to those other places, they would answer their own questions of why he would want to go to New Orleans. Like that, they're so close to the answer. But for some reason, they just won't accept it.
Hey, what about the Lions?
But seriously,
I don't know. How about the Toronto Maple Leafs?
What would draw him back to the Patriots? Realistically, other than your...
He ain't going to the Patriots for all the same reasons. I can't wait to hear what he says. But he's not going to the Patriots because he doesn't want to play outside. They don't have... I mean, they have better skill position players than the Giants, but they don't have a ton of talent. Let's see. He would have to play in the AFC. He would have to play against Buffalo twice a year. He would have to play. He'd have to go through Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Like all the same answers as to why he doesn't want to play in the other places that have the same problems.
Desire for him to come back to the Patriots.
It's a fair question. I would say a good running game, good defense, the fourth most cap space and familiarity with the ownership group and the head coaches.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Other than that, maybe it's the Lions. Hey, coming back.
Get him.
Is Dak back?
Go off, Queen.
Discuss.
Go off, Queen. Before we end here, I just want to look at Alvin Kamara because I keep saying Kamara. I keep throwing this out there. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, Alvin Kamara isn't good. Alvin Kamara hasn't been good. This year, he has not been good. Granted, his usage has been absolute ass, which I put on Dennis Allen and the coaching staff. Obviously, we know that Sean Payton will use him a little differently. So let's look at his career, okay? So obviously, 2022 is this year. So last year, okay, we can look at what he did here. He played in 13 games, so he was hurt last year. Only averaged 3.7 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns receiving wise. He was about a little more involved, I guess. Nothing crazy. So this year and last year, we'll just say, are pretty similar. Okay. The year before that, he's the man. Okay. He is the man. 5 yards a carry, 932 yards, 16 touchdowns, another 800 in the air, another 5 touchdowns. Now, it can't be lost that these 2 bad years are with Taysom Hill at quarterback with a mixture of Trevor Siemian and Jameis, and then Jameis and Andy. Okay, I'm not putting all of the blame on them. I'm not putting all the blame, but I do think that's why you're seeing this dramatic drop-off from 81 receptions, 81 receptions, 81 receptions, 83 receptions to 47 receptions and 55 receptions. So I could be biased, but this leads me to believe a little bit more in Alvin. Seeing this and seeing these last couple of years, which I do think, these last couple of years aren't great. But I believe that the 2020 Alvin with a Tom Brady and a Sean Payton would be back. Let me know what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know in the comments below. Am I just biased? Am I just out of control here? Have I just kind of lost the plot? Are the Commanders and the Giants just a much better destination for Tom Brady than the Saints? Or is there something to this? Let me know, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on another video.